Hector Pareto and Governor Jeb Bush.
Welcome. I'm sure glad you came. I want to talk about some of the challenges which face our country. A little later on, I'm going to go speak to those souls who wear the uniform of the United States military and thank them for their service to the country. Tell them we've got all the confidence in their capacity to help us keep the peace and promote freedom. We have challenges abroad, particularly the challenge to keep the peace, to secure our homeland, to adjust our way of thinking, to make sure that we do everything we can to say with complete confidence that we'll protect America. We'll protect this generation of Americans, and we'll secure the homeland and make the world more peaceful so that future generations of Americans can grow up in peace. That's a big challenge, and equally as big a challenge is to make sure our economy is strong so that America is a hopeful place. That our economy is strong enough to make sure the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well, and today we're going to talk to some entrepreneurs who are living the American dream. That our economy is strong enough to make sure moms and dads have got the capacity to save and invest for their children if that's what they choose to do. That our economy is strong enough so that people are looking for work and find a job. And that's also a challenge we face. Today you'll hear me talk about the plan that I have asked Congress to approve. I want the folks on the stage up here to share with me and with you and others listening what that plan means for their lives. In Washington, we spend a lot of time talking about numbers. I like to remind people that behind each number is somebody's life, and why the plan that I've described to the Congress is such an optimistic, hopeful plan for every American. Before I begin, I want to thank Brother, that would be your governor. So he had his 50th birthday on the 11th of February. I called him and said, "Happy birthday." 50 is not quite as old as it seemed to be, is it? We're proud of him and we love him. Actually, I had coffee with Mother and Dad this morning, and Mother said to make sure I told Jeb she loved him still. She still loves him. I want to thank Hector Pareto for being here as well. Hector is the head of the Small Business Administration. One of the commitments of this administration is to promote the entrepreneurial spirit throughout all our country. We want anybody from any walk of life to realize if they have a dream and work hard, they can realize their dreams. That's the greatness of America. And I'm honored that Joe Dogger would invite us into his facility. He had a dream. He realized his dream. He owns his own business. He can call it his own, and we're proud of you, Joe, and thanks for letting us come. So here's my attitude about economic growth and vitality. It's based upon the principle that if people have more money in their pocket, they're likely to demand a good or a service, and when they demand a good or a service, somebody in the marketplace is going to produce a good or a service, and when somebody meets that demand with production, somebody is more likely to find work. So when you couple that with the understanding the role of government is not to create wealth, but an environment in which the entrepreneur is willing to take risk, it yields this kind of plan. I believe we ought to cut the rates on everybody who pays taxes. I believe that we ought to reduce the income tax rates, but you know what's interesting? Is Congress has already agreed with that plan. In the year 2001, in the face of a recession, we convinced both Republicans and Democrats to support a rate reduction. It helped make our recession more shallow. People did get more money in their pockets, and they did spend that money. What's interesting about the rate reduction plan that we've proposed is that it is scheduled to phase in over time. It takes 5 years to get the rates down. It takes years to get the child credit up to $1,000 per child. It takes years to get the marriage penalty reduced to where we want it to be reduced to. Now, if the economy is still not as strong as it should be, and if Congress has already recognized that tax rate reduction helps economic growth, my message to the United States Congress is, speed up the growth. If it's good enough 5 years from now, it is good enough today. And so, this economy needs immediate help, so I will ask Congress, when they pass the bill, to make it retroactive to January 1st, which means workers will get money in their pockets immediately. It means small businesses will get money to invest immediately. It'll have an immediate effect on today's economy. Something I think we need. Something a lot of Americans understand we need as we're coming out of recession and recovering from a terrorist attack, and as we're finally washing out of the system those who thought they could lie and cheat when it came to their balance sheets. We're recovering from 3 shocks to the system, and we need a little further wind at the back of this economy. Now that means 92 million Americans will receive an average income tax relief package of $1,083. And that's good. And we'll hear from some of our fellow citizens up here about how much relief this means for them. And if they feel like it, they may share with us what they intend to do with it. One thing is for certain, I will assure them, is at least I understand the money we're talking about up in Washington is not the government's money. See, it's their money and your money. It's the people's money we're talking about. Now, one of the reasons we came to Joe's business is I want to make it very clear to the American people that tax rate reductions have got an incredibly positive effect on small businesses. Most small businesses are what they call a sole proprietorship, or a limited partnership, or a subchapter S corporation. If you happen to be one of those 3 entities, you pay tax at your business on your business profits at the individual income tax rates. And so therefore, by reducing income tax rates, you're really affecting small business growth. And because over half the jobs in America are created by small businesses, it makes sense to stimulate that aspect of our economy. 23 million businesses will receive over $2,000 in income tax relief. Now that means a lot when you start thinking about the implications. I mean, you got a one-man shop. $2,000 may mean the capacity to buy a machine, leverage the money to buy a machine, which means another job. One of the things we understand in America, though, is investments equals jobs, and therefore one of the things we're going to try to do is encourage more investment. And so I want to, right now small businesses are limited to the deduction of only $25,000 for a capital expenditure. We want to raise that to $75,000 to encourage small businesses to buy more equipment. So those are 2 aspects of this plan that make sense. One is how do we encourage people to have more, how do we encourage Congress to let people have more money in their pocket for the good of economic growth and jobs, and what do we do about stimulating small business activity and growth? The third aspect of the plan is really to make the tax code more fair. We tried to address that earlier, by the way. It is unfair to tax a person's assets twice. That's why I've called upon Congress to get rid of the death tax. really what we want is we want our small business owners to work hard, to keep their vision, to build up their assets, so they can leave it to whoever they want to leave it to, without the government standing in between. Congress passed that they need to make that aspect of the tax relief permanent, like they need to make all aspects of tax relief permanent. But today I want to talk to you about another unfair aspect of the tax code, and that is the double taxation of dividends. It's fair to tax a company's profits. What's not fair is when the company takes those profits and distributes them to one of the owners of the company, the shareholder, and that person then has to pay tax on it. It means government is really interfering with capital. It means there's less capital in the system for investment, and if investment means jobs, by the nature, getting rid of the double taxation of dividends will make it easier for capital to accumulate, make it more likely people will find work. Secondly, the double taxation of dividends hurts our senior citizens. It's particularly acute here in the state of Florida. There's over 10 million seniors rely upon dividend income during their retirement years. I mean, why would we want to have something unfair in the tax code which also penalizes those who we really need to help after their retirement? The double taxation of dividends will also put a premium on good accounting. In other words, if you get distributing dividends, your whole growth portfolio, your whole growth agenda will be based upon yield as opposed to pie-in-the-sky projections. Or people will say, well, gosh, I'm going to invest in this company because I want a share of their cash flow or share of their profits. And therefore, the company ownership must base its projections on how they treat the shareholder as opposed to some pie-in-the-sky prognostication about what may or may not occur. Growth will occur based upon the certainty of the dividend being distributed. It will be a really important corporate reform in America, in my judgment. So this is what I've asked the Congress to approve. There's a lot of talk about whether or not this is what they call stimulative, whether or not it will affect the economy. Of course it will, because over the next 15 months we'll have pumped in $100 billion of additional money into the private sector. That money will circulate. As that money circulates, it's more likely somebody is going to be able to find work. And so I'm here not only to share the details of the plan with you, I'm here to ask you to contact your senators and your members of Congress, remind them of whose money we're talking about, and remind them of the philosophy I've just outlined to you as how best to create jobs. The role of government is to create an environment in which people are willing to risk and take risk and to go to work and work hard, and tax relief encourages that kind of environment. So we're going to first start off and hear from Sue Butts. Sue is an entrepreneur. She owns her own business. She owns Supreme Janitorial. She has owned it since 1968. Is that right? 92. Okay.
It's been in existence since 68.
You bought it in 92.
92.
I will just tell you that she will receive a $3,300 tax reduction if when Congress passes this plan. I'm optimistic, by the way, that Congress is going to get the message. Why don't you tell us? What are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. That $3,300 would be very nice, but even more important than that aspect of it is the way that I plan the investments in my equipment in my company. And last year I planned to spend $24,000 because that was the limit that I could deduct in my tax return, and I did indeed spend $24,000. This year I plan to spend $25,000 because that's the current limit. But I have a $35,000 wish list of equipment I would like to purchase, but I have to be prudent. My employees depend on me to have steady and secure employment. And so I have to be very careful on how I invest my money. So now that your proposal is that the limit would go to $75,000, I will be able to for sure invest that additional $35,000. In fact, I'll rethink the entire plan and see if I can't get up to the $75,000. But I know that just for that $35,000, that means a direct tax benefit to me of $10,000. Which is certainly an incentive to make that investment this year instead of putting it off.
Yeah, I think it's important for our fellow citizens to know that there are ways for government to incent people to invest. And this is a good way. And here's a classic example of somebody who has limited the amount she's going to invest based upon tax policy. And the idea of raising the limit to $75,000, in this case, it sounds like it could encourage more investment. Now, what that means is somebody is going to be, tasked with building the machine she purchases or the equipment she purchases. And that person will be working. And then, of course, the people who she hires will have more equipment. And it may be that she needs an extra person to deal with the equipment she purchases. Economies grow with the circulation of money. And this is a classic example of how tax policy will encourage investment in the circulation of money. And so, thanks for sharing that with us. Congratulations on being a successful entrepreneur, by the way.
Thank you.
James is a installation supervisor. He is a taxpayer. He is a man who has got a daughter that he cares a lot about, and he's a guy who's going to have his taxes fall by 20% when this plan goes through. You see, there's a lot of rhetoric in Washington about rich this, rich that, class warfare. It's the kind of guy I'm worried about, and this is what this tax plan. This is how the tax plan speaks to people like James Thomas. Welcome.
That $2,100 saving that I will get from my taxes will come in handy. My daughter that I do care a great deal about, I will take that money and put it aside for a college fund, okay? Because her goal is in the near future to become a teacher.
Thanks. You've got more to say than that. Here's your chance.
I'm going to let the rest of that.
See, here's the thing about, a dad puts aside money for the daughter invests it, it rolls over. There is a compounding effect when it comes to investments. Money saved, invested, will keep rolling over and rolling over. $2,100. By the time she goes to college 8 years from now, will be significantly larger than that. And I appreciate you thinking about that. It's very important for people to make the sacrifices for their children. It's hard to raise kids. Tax relief will make it easier for people to make sacrifices. It'll help people, meet the priorities they've set. And I want to thank you, James, for that. Zim is an entrepreneur. Zim, tell us about your business. You got some of your employees here too.
Yes, sir. I know how much you love your dad, and I wanted you to know that my dad, Edward J. Bolus, started our business 48 years ago here in Jacksonville, and he worked hard to build a business and provide for me and for my mom and my 3 sisters. But beyond that, he worked a lot in the community to make Jacksonville a better place. And Jacksonville's a wonderful place. I know you're starting to spend more time here, but we were just picked as the #1 city in America for relocation and corporate expansion. And we have a fabulous mayor who's done a great job.
Where's the mayor? Oh, mayor, yeah, thank you. Good to see you again, Mayor.
And you know how good our governor is. So. But it's been an honor for me to try to live in my dad's footsteps and try to help make this a better community and do that. And I've involved my wife, Terry, and my daughter, Meredith, when we're doing community work. And there's one special thing we've done in our business. We have 40 people, and I knew that you would love this story. We have 25 furniture installers that go out and do news ads and changes for people. And of those 25 guys, 10 of them are from Bosnia.
Really?
And we got them through...
Looking for a little better life.
Yes. We got them through Lutheran Social Services. They had a refugee resettlement program. We hired these 10 guys, great work ethic. The only problem is that they didn't speak any English. So we got a high school teacher to come in the mornings and after school. We split the guys up into several groups and she taught them all English. And now here, 5 years later, their kids are in school. They're making great grades. They love it. And 2 of the guys, Bakir and Elvir, were visiting with me the other day, and they said, I want you to tell the president that we love freedom and the opportunity that we have here, that if you want to work for it in America, whatever you want to achieve is there for you, and we love the American dream. will definitely spend $75,000 this year on fixed assets. What we would do is upgrade every person's PC to a flat screen monitor, and that would allow us to show our customers how when you get a flat screen, you can get rid of the big corner work surface, put in a 24-inch deep work surface, have a smaller workstation, reduce the size of that cube, and so on a big floor you can get more people because each cube's smaller. Also, that flat screen is more energy efficient. It emits less heat, so down here it would be much easier to cool the building in the summer. Another thing we would do is buy a $25,000 high-speed digital copier that's networked to our entire office. We would be able to invoice from the PC to the copier would then email that invoice to our clients. And I know Joseph won't like this, but we wouldn't have to buy expensive pre-printed invoices. We'd probably save 2 days in our accounts payable cycle, so it would improve our cash flow. And then also when people do copies at their desktop with those small printers, because of the expense of the ribbon, that costs about 5 cents a copy. And this way we could send it to the big copier for a penny a copy. So we have the savings there. But it's that $25,000, $30,000 initial cash outlay that's sort of a shocker when you're a business owner, but your plan would help us do that. And the last thing we would do would be sort of the new era for us to move into, instead of just providing workstations and offices, is called constructive solutions, where you take a cold shell of a building like this, you put in a raised floor with a small platform underneath it for all the cabling and communication. You put carpet tiles on that, and you come in with architectural movable walls instead of using drywall. It doesn't tear up the carpet or interfere with the ceiling grid. It gives people maximum flexibility and to do moves, adds, and changes, and access to the cabling and less stuff going to the landfill. But to do that, I needed to purchase 2 pretty expensive displays. And since they'd be working displays, I could capitalize those and use those under your plan, and that would really help us. And then after I did all that, I'd probably just have a little bit of money left. And after seeing your motorcade come in, I'd probably like to upgrade my car.
Bad way to travel. We're in Joe's house, Joe's business. And Joe, tell us what you do. Tell us when you started this company, why you started the company. Thanks for letting us come by.
Thank you, Mr. President. We immigrated to this country 18 years ago, and our dream was to just have a place to live in peace and have a chance to grow and have families. It was my father, he's the pioneer. He's sitting right in the front row.
Hi, Dad.
I'm walking his steps, I'm walking his footsteps. He is a printer. We grew in a family of printers. He decided he wanted to move somewhere else and just find a life for his family and see him grow and see him have families.
And you came from?
We came from Lebanon, from Beirut. It has been a luxury since that day, since we moved in here. It's a luxury the way we can find dreams come true. We started, by the time we got our green cards, we bought a small business in Atlantic Beach. And that was a small business, 20 foot wide by 50 foot deep, quick print shop that had a family running it with 2 employees. We were very fortunate to be able to finance some of it and get working. 16 years later today, we have occupied the whole shopping center that we are in, and we have grown from $90,000 to $1.7 million. Last year, we have hired 4 employees that practically came from a place where they were laid off. And we have increased our employment. Last year at one time we had 19 employees. Today we're 16, we lost 2 employees, 2 good employees for another printer, but we will have a person coming in tomorrow and another person hopefully next week. Being in business in the country is challenging. It's actually in every country, in every business. We have to always figure out ways to be more efficient, more competitive, try to stay lead so we can have a little cutting edge, take advantage of it. And in our industry as a print shop, the technology has changed very fast, and I'm sure it happened to many other industries. The computer, the pre-press has been very overwhelming for our industry in our case. And we've invested practically every year as much as we possibly could, because we are a family. We don't spend every penny we make. We save it back and to grow the business. But we also wanted to utilize those advantages we had with taxes, so our CPA always encouraged us to use them. Before the end of the year, Joseph, do something, you're making too much money. So we end up always, we utilize the $25,000 that has always been the maximum amount we can elect for expensing as an equipment. Today, we would truly find a great need for that. As you can see, we have to fill the building, and we may have to ask you to increase it before you leave. I definitely have plans to expense more money, to elect to expense more money. That means I'm going to be buying more equipment. That means the manufacturer is going to be building more equipment. That means the manufacturer will be able to hire employees themselves, because we know that last year most of our manufacturers had a lot of pain being able to sell equipment. So I truly believe in your plan, and I am definitely going to benefit from that. On my personal income, I would benefit, I believe, approximately $4,800. On the business, I would benefit, it will feel like if I would purchase $125,000 of equipment, that's been about my average every year, I will be saving $10,000. That is 10% of the equipment price. That is a great deal. And I want to say one word. I want to thank this country that has given us room. First, it opens its doors for us. The society that accepted us and gave us room to grow and prosper. I want to thank each and every one of all of you, and especially our leaders. Thank you very much.
This country must never forget what Joe just said. You know, this is a welcoming society based upon allowing people to realize their dreams. I love to be in the presence of somebody who's realizing their dreams. We love freedom in America. We love the fact that people are free. And I want to remind you what I said, Joe, and I believe this as sure as I'm sitting here. Liberty is not America's gift to the world. Liberty is the Almighty God's gift to mankind. We just have a chance here in America to protect liberty and freedom. And I want to thank you for sharing that with us. Another man who's living the American experience is Joey Gonzalez. Hard-working man. You recommend him, don't you? Here. He works for Zim. Joey, thanks for coming.
You're welcome, Mr. President. It's a pleasure being up here with you and the governor. Yeah, I guess the way I would use the extra income is to help out my kids with their health plan, because it's really outrageous out there how much it costs to have a medical plan for the kids. My wife, Linda, she's covered with her company, Bell South Solutions, and I'm covered with OENS, but my kids are not covered right now. And I think that's going to help out. It's going to help us out with that, you know, helping them get medical plans for them. You know, I've been here in Florida already for 4 years, and I started working with Zim 4 years ago, and it's been great. I mean, I take care of a lot of his big installations, you know, 400 or 500 stations, no problem. I just finished up about 220 stations for City Street, you know, went great. You know, my son, Jose, he's 10 years old, and I got a daughter, Crystal, I'm sorry, that's backwards. My son is 12, my daughter's 10. My son is in Taekwondo right now. He's first degree black belt. He's working on his second. And this week, on Monday, I was talking to him in the car about, what was his future, or what he was planning to do. And he actually came out and said he wanted to be a CIA agent. So, I was talking to him, and I just told him, well, you need to study, and if that's what you want, you really need to go for it, his self-defense right now, it's great. He's studying that, and he wants to proceed with a different kind of self-defense because he figured he needs all that in his future to really proceed this.
Well, I meet with George Tenet every morning. He's the head of the CIA. I'll put a good word in for him.
He's actually in school right now, and he was like, well, Dad, could you make sure that Grandma records this? I'll make sure, don't worry. I'm pretty sure he's going to be overwhelmed to hear his name.
Yeah, he's proud of his daddy, I bet you.
He is. Me and my son just do a lot of stuff together, and like my wife Linda, and we always going out on trips and making them feel, really great. So, that's where
You said your most important job, not working for Zim necessarily, your most important job is to be a loving dad, and I appreciate that example.
Very important for us to be loving to our kids. They look up to us, so we have to show them an example. And as I go out to work every day, I even took them to work with me a couple of times and told them, this is not what you want to do. Okay? It's kind of fun. He has fun with me when he goes out with me. Yeah, that's what I will use my money for, is for them.
Thank you, sir. Give that to the government. Hey, Ellen? How's your chance to defend yourself from Mother?
Well, I wanted to commend the president. This may not be a surprise to anybody in this room that I would commend the president, but I appreciate the stimulus package that passed. We're one of the only states that actually piggybacked onto the accelerated depreciation, I guess it was last year or a year and a half ago. And to show how this works, our corporate taxes are projected to be up 26% for next year. And a lot of people didn't quite understand that if you provide incentives for people to invest, that it creates the exact same thing that we're hearing today. And so making these things permanent is a great idea. Florida leads the nation in job growth because we adhere to the president's philosophy that we're more worried about the money in your pockets than the coffers of government. When you have more money in your pockets, then government's coffers grow. And if we don't focus on y'all, then the government money actually subsides. It sounds like it may be counterintuitive, but in fact it's the case. If you limit government and worry about building a good business climate, then more money comes into government. And the big issues that we face that we want to provide support beyond taxes is on healthcare insurance, medical malpractice reform, which is a serious problem in our state, workers' compensation reform. The insurance area is where President King is here with us and members of the legislature, that we're going to work really hard to build a better business climate so that Northeast Florida continues to excel. I'm proud of being governor of this state, and I'm proud of my brother.
Jody also works with Zim, and Jody, we're proud you're here. She's married. She's got a little girl who's 9.
Yes, she's 9. She's a 4th grader at Riverside Presbyterian Day School. Her name is Hope. She's here today. She told me this morning that she felt like God took out his box of things for Hope to do, and today was the day she got to meet the president. So she's really excited.
Where is Hope? Hi, Hope. I'm going to be coming that way in a second. I look forward to saying hello to you.
But we're excited about this proposed tax plan because we've been doing renovations on our home since my husband and I have been married. We have a little bungalow-style home, so it kind of requires a lot of work. The last project is the kitchen, and we'd like to do some new appliances in there, maybe redo our floor. We've kind of talked about it, but the $2,100 that we'd receive would definitely go a long way towards that, and we understand that part of that would be the raising of the child credit from $600 to $1,000, and that the marriage deductions, I guess, that we can take for being filing jointly, that would double the standardized deductions that we can take. So that's a big savings there as well. And that means something to us. That directly impacts us. Being able to, complete a project in our house is really high on our priority list. And the other thing that, in talking about this, that we realized is we're going to get impacted indirectly. Company I work for, OE&S, we have a profit-sharing program called the Great Game of Business, and it's really taught us how businesses work, how money works, and it's been very important to us. Zim originally had a way of kind of demonstrating how it works. He took 100 pennies and put it on our conference room table and said, what do you think our biggest expense is? We, of course, all thought it was us, that we were getting paid all this money. But in turn, we realized that 75 pennies was going to pay for the office furniture that we sell to our clients, leaving us 25. Gross profit, what we had to pay bills. 22 of those 25 went to our expenses, leaving us three pennies, one of which is going to you. But of those three, that 3% is a benchmark for our company. That's what we consider being profitable. And any overage of that 3%, we take that overage, and 40% of it is divided equally among all of our employees. So we definitely get a twofold benefit in this, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. You're right, some of those pennies are going to the government, and they should. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's now going over to the base, and we're sending people in harm's way. They deserve the best pay, the best equipment, the best possible training. And there are legitimate uses of government, but what we're talking about today is really setting priorities, funding those priorities, but remembering how to increase revenues. Revenues increase with economic vitality and fiscal discipline in Washington, D.C. Revenues increase by empowering people and entrepreneurs and small businesses to grow, and at the same time saying to Congress, let us focus on important priorities. Remember whose money it is we're talking about. We're talking about your money, and I want to thank you all for coming today to give me a chance to talk about our vision for economic vitality and growth. For letting people understand that behind every number there is a life that will benefit. And when individuals benefit or small businesses benefit, we all benefit. It's the cumulative effect of millions of decision makers in the marketplace, which affects job creation. This administration is committed to job growth. I want to repeat to you, as long as any Americans who wants to work can't find a job, we will be committed to job growth. And so I want to thank you for giving me a chance to come and share this plan with you. This is a realistic plan. It is a hopeful plan. It is a plan based upon sound principle. It's a plan which will work. It's a plan that your members of Congress, Andrew's all right, don't worry about him. Crenshaw's with us. John Micah's with us. I don't worry about those two. But there are some who haven't gotten the message yet, and they need to hear from you. And you can start right here in the state of Florida, contacting your elected representatives and let them know how you feel. I want to thank you for coming. I want you to know that we're citizens of the greatest country on the face of the earth. God bless.